Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. It is once again time for the WADcast, episode number 151. I am one of your hosts, Josh, joined with me, as always, by the third Mario brother, Brendan Mario.
Brandon Mario, that's horrible. It's just Brandon. He don't let him fool you. You don't know my name. What's up, everybody? Happy Friday night. It's good to be back. It's good to have this show. This will unfortunately be our last live show for with me in it rather for the next 2 to 3 weeks. Yeah, I will not be here next week. I'll be in Austin, Texas, and then I'll be in other parts of the world the following week. So yeah, it's going to be busy, but it's going to be back. Going to have a nice little show tonight to discuss things in regards to comic book movies. Josh, right?
Yeah.
These things are going on as of late. You actually mentioned this to me. Like, what was it that you were mentioning earlier that sparked your interest for tonight's episode?
Well, I've been going through the comments and good old movie addiction. And
let's get back to movie addiction. It's always movie addiction.
Always movie addiction.
We need to get Jay and his wife in here at some point. Be like, hey, we always mention you guys in your group. So it's
not by name, but the group we mention by name.
I'm just saying Jay, but I'm not mentioning his wife's name for family solidarity. Just Jay. It may be a name or a letter. Who cares? But go ahead.
Well, anyway, I was taking a look at some of the comments, and there was one person in particular who I don't remember, but they were talking about how superhero movies are killing cinema and art and things of that nature. Just had a not to give too much away, a kind of pretentious feel to the things that we're saying. And I was like,
yeah,
it's killing art. Not pretty sure art still exists. The art form of cinema still exists. Filmmaking, as a way to express, complex emotions still exists. And quite frankly, I don't think anything's really changed ever in movies, as far as what's popular is popular, and the art house films are the art house films. It's not very often you find the audience that crosses over between the two groups and everyone just kind of has their own thing.
Yeah.
So I thought we should discuss how has superhero films impacted the industry. And there was, who was it? The guy from that show, The Bear, and most notable for his role in movie 43.
That idiot. Yeah, Shameless. The Bear
was talking about. Oh God, I wish I could remember exactly what he said, but it was something along the lines of how he finds it like confusing that some people's like pinnacle of their acting career is a superhero movie, like it's a bad thing.
Yeah, and he's been 3 major things. And Sean is actually Sean commented. He's a friend of ours in the movie addiction group. He's actually a really cool person, good person to talk to. He's he's a screenwriter. He's doing a few things, trying to get his name out there and all that stuff, and has actually gained quite a bit of notoriety. So, Sean, thank you for listening, and buddy, thank you for chiming into the show. Always good to have you and other fellow members from movie addiction from Facebook on here. But yeah, that guy, what cracks me up with him is the fact that he is not remotely a bad actor. He's a great actor. If you've not seen Shameless and watch him take his turn as playing Lip, this is a tortured character in the show, and it takes a lot of range to play that character that's so unstable that, I guess, unstable, but like just really has no shits given about life or consequence, that he just does his own thing while also struggling to be like a positive member of the family. that people can actually aspire and look up to. But the dude's been in like 3 things that have actually really drawn attention. And again, that is Shameless, that is The Bear, and that is Movie 43.
A high point in cinema.
You have Tom Holland that has been in more leading roles because of his turn as Spider-Man. Back with the Captain America Civil War, and it's opened up numerous doors for him, not just in cinema, in actual like just entertainment in general, whether it's from TV to film to like actual plays. He's been in more things.
Yeah.
So when people bring up the whole like, oh well, like it's just like a desperate thing, whatever the hell it was he said about like people want to be in superhero movies. A lot of the OG superhero movies that have come out so far have shown these characters in versions of their own depths that they didn't have in the comic books. Like things that comic books cannot do for a character, these movies have done.
Right.
Okay. You have, I don't know, not so much James Marsden as Cyclops or Famke Jensen or Jensen or whatever, how you pronounce his last name, as Jean Grey. But you have, Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. The reason why Wolverine's become so popular is because of how tormented and tortured he is. And the way that Hugh Jackman has portrayed him. He could have done him just as one-dimensional as James Marsden did with Cyclops.
Let me do it. Let me do it. Okay. When Rogue's like, does it hurt? And then Hugh Jackman's like, every time.
Yeah.
With that.
Yeah, he also had like no shits. He also had no shits given in that movie. Like at all. In the first X-Men movie, he had no shits given. The one guy comes up to him with the knife. Before he even like breaks out the knife, he was like, you owe me money. He's like, you lost your money. You keep it up, you lose something else. Like just like it's like goes back. Just like that's it. But it's like the whole thing is like Wolverine has become such a staple of those movies. And I'm not just saying because he was such a popular X-Men. He was popular. Do not get me wrong. But at the time of these movies, shortly before that, who was more popular than Wolverine was Gambit. Gambit for a while was more popular than Wolverine was.
Remy Labo.
1 second, excuse me. Indiana Jones, get the fuck out of here.
And there's your one. Such a waste. Wasting that F-bomb on talking to the dog. Probably doesn't even realize that he didn't mute his microphone.
There was my one per episode, wasted on my dog.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, so
I was just saying that exact same thing.
Okay, good. He's like, he laid down right behind my computer chair, so I went to go back up. I just kept hearing the whole, like, just like this on the floor, which is usually his sign of saying, like, hey, I'm here too. Like, get out. I love my dog, ladies and gentlemen, but
their appearance isn't canon unless they appear on screen or say something into the mic.
What's that?
Nothing. I was just saying things.
Okay.
So Wolverine, you said was,
but what I was getting at is like he became a staple for Fox and X-Men, especially with the movies, because he became so popular. They wrapped these stories around him, largely around him.
Yeah.
What Fox did not do. Yeah, what Fox did not do was they did not create a range of characters, like say like the way that the Avengers were made. Okay, They didn't do that. Every other character outside of Logan and Rogue were really just supporting members, and some of them had things to do to drive the story forward. Magneto, Mystique, and X-Men 2 didn't really have a whole lot to do throughout the entire movie until the end. That's where they like around the halfway point they kind of came in and they get on the the plane, and then from there they recruit Pyro, and then that's when they really kind of show this whole like side of Magneto and what he's trying to do. It was more about Stryker, Logan, and that was the entire movie. Everything else was just supporting in X-Men 2. X-Men 1 was, yes, that was Rogue, Wolverine, and a little bit between, Magneto and Professor X. No one else really had much to do at all. Jean Grey a little bit. But
I think that's really a sign of the times, especially for superhero movies.
And
it was more endemic of them to um, not flesh out anybody but the main cast. That was before, I think, it was realized hero films, superhero films, can and should be considered ensemble pieces
Yeah.
rather than just this is our main guy and everyone else is kind of inconsequential.
But you see, then that's where they made the mistake, because superhero comic books were all ensemble stories, all of them.
Hmm.
Um, all of them were, and I don't know where it came to play, where they wanted to play it safe. I don't understand that one. I would love to have had more of an arc between Cyclops, Jean Grey, and Wolverine, instead of like just like a little hostility between Cyclops and Wolverine. And you saw there was a really good line in the first X-Men movie where Mystique poses as Wolverine and attacks him and separates him from the rest of everyone else. And you think that he stabs and kills Mystique. And he comes out while everyone else like just like looking around. Cyclops is looking around with this little visor thingy. And he's ready to blast Wolverine. Wolverine's like, hey, it's me. Prove it. You're a dick. Okay. Like, and it's like, that's it. Like, I mean, it's just like, yeah, you kind of show a part of this relationship. And the thing is that relationship, though, in the original, like in the comic books, it's so shit, man. It's so volatile between the two of them.
Yeah.
The great thing about the X-Men stories is that they did not get along. A lot of times they did not get along. That's the best part about the stories. They didn't really get along, but they were, for better or for worse, a family.
In that first movie, it's like Wolverine shows up and he's like, all right, I'm new here, but I'm going to steal your girl and be like a loose cannon on your team here.
Yeah, if you were to make X-Men, the original X-Men with Hugh Jackman, James Marsden, Patrick Stewart, Funke Jensen, Halle Berry, if you were to make this like a romantic comedy, Hugh Jackman would have been the villain. And the creepy one, because he showed up in tow with a little girl. Like, oh, that's my sister, Bobby. You don't talk to her at all like that. Like, I'm very protective of her. I didn't like her when I first met her. Hey, what's up, hot stuff? You're mine now. Hey, yeah, what's up, Four Eyes? You're her boyfriend? Go screw yourself. Sup, Red? Like, just like, it's such a weird thing that you made Hugh Jackman's Wolverine in such a dick, but like a popular character.
Yeah.
That it was such a strong character that they made the first 3 X-Men movies all about him. Then with a spin-off of X-Men Wolverine, X-Men Origins Wolverine, that was all about him. And then The Wolverine, which is all about him. And then Logan, which is all about him. You have, before Logan, you had X-Men First Class, where they had to shoehorn him in. And then you had X-Men Apocalypse, I believe.
Days of Future Past.
Days of Future Past. Yes, it was. Okay. Days of Future Past. And I'm mistaken here. You had Days of Future Past after X-Men First Class.
Right. He had a cameo in First
after
Class.
The event, and he had a cameo in First Class. There was X-Men Days of Future Past. And then there was X-Men Apocalypse, right? Am I getting this timeline right here, like how they released? And X-Men Apocalypse, they still had no faith in their own movie, that they had to shoehorn Wolverine back into that one for like a brief second. And then they finally moved on without him. And then they made Logan.
Oh, right, Dark Phoenix. I keep forgetting that's a thing.
Yeah, Dark Phoenix was horrible. But they made Logan, then they made Dark Phoenix. And Dark Phoenix, if it sounds familiar to people about Dark Phoenix coming back and killing everyone, going crazy, and either dying or sacrificed, it's written by the same dude. It is written and directed by the guy that wrote X-Men 3. It's a throwaway title. It's like, oh my God, well, I got like a C grade on this paper in high school. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait till next year in an advanced course of the same topic. I'm going to copy and paste everything, change 3 sentences, swap out some punctuations and grammatical situations, and we're just turn it back in and hope it's different,
Okay,
but with the same shit story.
let's do like a little reenactment of the studio meeting.
No.
Okay.
Oh, okay. How's this? Hey, I was taking a shit for 5 seconds, and I wrote a new script very much closely related to X-Men 3, just without Wolverine. You want to make it?
No, that's not great at all.
That's what I watched.
Let me start it off, and you play off of it. Okay. All right. So we want to make another X-Men movie. Can we do the Phoenix again? Yeah.
You're fired.
Phoenix again. Who can we get to write a new Phoenix movie? Well, we only know one guy that really knows anything about the Phoenix, so we get him. Okay, yeah, sold. Green light.
That's about how I see it going. Honestly, it's not good. It's a horrible movie. And they're going to take it into space. Completely, I believe. They were going to take the final battle into space or whatever it was. Mm-hmm. I forget exactly why it was some kind of like, oh, well, it's kind of repetitive what we're doing right now. So they put it into a train. But it was just bad. It was so bad. But what they did with these newer movies, though, is they made Eric Lencher, i.e. Magneto, they made him the on again, off again, good guy, bad guy, anti-hero, whatever they need him to be. He's the plot device.
Like in the comics.
Much more dramatically than the comics. This is a guy that is bipolar as shit. And on top of that, let's face the fact that yeah, I'm glad you got the pun. They got these actors. These movies are supposed to span like over the course of what, like 30 some odd years, I think.
Yeah. No
one ages until they turn into Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen.
That is quite the jump.
And James Marsden, I guess, still looks great for his age when he's an X-Men. Famke Janssen, she looks great. Hugh Jackman de-ages. And somehow Liev Schreiber turns from him. I'm sorry, Sabretooth turns from Liev Schreiber to Tyler Mane.
But you know what? That's after the events of Days of Future Past, where everything gets changed.
Oh God, I don't want to hear it. It's such a slop. Trask is introduced in X-Men 3. He's a black man, a stocky black man. But now we introduced him in Days of Future Past as a little person in the form of Peter Dinklage.
Like I said,
it's the same person, it's the same character. I can't. Okay, but moving on from Fox. Fox was the first one to drop the ball and like completely screw the pooch in ways that people, I don't know if they like realized. Sony just decided to copy it and make it worse. But
we need Venom in this movie. Sam, put Venom in this movie.
Okay, with Fox, they just were not thinking about continuity with a lot of things. Now, yes, with Spider-Man 3, there was Venom in the movie. The director did not see the point in putting Venom in because he did not understand the character. He's been very vocal about that, so he did what he could. And Avi Arad, I think, was the name of the producer. That's like, oh, people want this, people want this, people want this.
Yeah, and people did want it, to be fair.
And so Sam Raimi put that in there. He shoehorned the character in and took out the characters he wanted to make a story that he didn't really care. And if you watch this movie, you can tell he didn't care. But then you had Sony make The Amazing Spider-Man, which I stand by the fact was actually a damn good movie. I really enjoyed Andrew Garfield's turn to Spider-Man. I really did. The Amazing Spider-Man, what I liked about that versus Tobey Maguire is that this is Andrew Garfield fighting like a spider. There's a scene where there's a few scenes. In this one, there's a scene where he's shooting webs down different tunnels in the sewer. And he's laying on these webs, all like going back and like connecting to where he's at. And as he's laying on these webs, he's playing a little game on his phone with the mask turned up and everything else, and he feels a little vibration on one web. Puts his phone away, pulls his mask down, and he starts following this vibration. That's a very Spider thing to do. He and Lizard are into a fight. Guess what he does is he webs like the Lizard to different parts of this corridor, and then as he's crawling around him, he's webbing him up even more to where he's like, the Lizard's like just like this, can't even like move, straitjacket style. I thought that was awesome. I would have loved to see more of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And plus, I think he had much better acting chops, and this is a very unpopular opinion of mine, by the way. I think he was a better Spider-Man than Tobey Maguire could ever even pretend to be. Tobey Maguire got Peter Parker down, but he never really got that taunting of Spider-Man down. He got a fraction of it. Oh, go ahead.
I'm going to agree and disagree at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
I think yes, Andrew Garfield pulled it off better, but I also say Tobey Maguire, not a great Peter Parker.
No. With the nerdum and everything else, when he's talking about certain things, great Peter Parker. What they messed up with him is they messed up the science part of him.
They messed up.
He had the brilliance.
Like a creepy stalker.
Well, that too, but it's like they messed up the fact that he was not with Tobey Maguire. He was not remotely scientifically inclined in most times. He knew how certain things worked and everything else, but what we got with Andrew Garfield was him building the web shooters. We got him like trial and error. We got him like watching, like listening in on like, just like critiquing of like just, or even like speculation as to how he even swings and shit like that. And he's correcting these problems. What ended up getting perfected, I think, was with the MCU's turn at Peter Parker in the form of Tom Holland, with him being like this really nerdy kid, super nerdy.
Yeah,
but also being like a very like, I don't know, excitable, but fish out of water, but brilliant and sarcastic Spider-Man. Like, I think what happened finally is that we got the right person in the role. Not saying anything about like, anything bad about Tobey Maguire and his constant crying and a few of his little quips he had. Andrew Garfield was, picture for the school paper. Don't make me look bad. That'd be impossible.
And then proceeds to snap pictures for 10 minutes while she's like, how many pictures does this guy need?
Posing, and you can tell she's uncomfortable the entire time. Then we got introduced to like a much older Gwen Stacy. That was
Bryce Howard, right?
Bryce Dallas Howard, yes, and she was horrible at that part. It's
weird that they made the redhead the blonde and the blonde the redhead.
I know. I keep laughing at that. It's like I laugh at that, like much like as I was saying earlier, I laugh at that like the same way that I laugh at the fact that I don't go on roller coasters, but I'll get on a plane. I will not go on a roller coaster for like 3 minutes, but I'll go on a plane for like 7.5 hours. I don't get it, but it's how it works.
Right.
So with Kirsten Dunst and Bryce Dallas Howard, you made a blonde a redhead and a redhead a blonde. And I think both of them would have been much better at the parts that they would have had their hairs matched to.
Yeah.
I would much rather prefer Kirsten Dunst get tossed off the bridge and die in the first movie, and then bring in Bryce Dallas Howard as, Mary Jane Watson for the next 2 movies. But moving on from Spider-Man, though, we have so many other things to cover. The whole point was like, okay, well, superhero movies are hurting cinema, according to Lip from Shameless. Here's the thing. The art. There's a lot of art behind the superhero movies. Robert Downey Jr. crushed it as Tony Stark. And it was an entire storyline to watch, from Iron Man all the way up to Avengers Endgame. It was nothing but a storyline. Every single story for every character led up to that moment in that movie. That is long-range storytelling. Whether you like the characters or not, that was long-range storytelling. Whatever's happening now, who the hell knows? But at that point, that was writing things out and planning these characters and everything else. I would have no doubt that they had a story arc for Tony Stark moving forward if, Robert Downey Jr. wanted to stay on for more movies. But I'm sure they also had an exit strategy for him. And same with Chris Evans. You know, you had these characters whose contracts were up for a long time in these movies. They're ready to move on. But now with the Disney Plus series, I'm not a big fan of all of them by any means, but those aren't really cinema. Those are TV and streaming services that do tie into other movies, but they are still not cinema. So when it comes to Lip from Shameless talking about this kind of stuff, I don't get it. Even DC, I don't care about DC movies. I enjoyed Man of Steel. It was not Superman or Clark Kent, and it was way too long of a story to tell to show why Superman does not believe in killing. Oh, because he snapped Zod's neck. Oh, yeah, no, I don't kill anymore. Well, son of a bitch was throwing Batman around really willy-nilly in Batman vs. Superman all over the place. Like, you could have broken whatever he wanted to break. He didn't know the guy's infrastructure for that suit. He just was throwing him around. Multiple stories, throwing him through the building, through walls, knocking the shit out of him, everything else. You had no idea what he could have done to kill him. You know, he was letting Batman blow people up. He could have stopped Batman at any moment when he was blowing people up and shooting them and all that shit. Like, he could just scoop the Batman go up and carry him off into the sky and be like, "Hey, Bruce, no,
bad."
Like,
hit him on the nose with a copy of the Daily Planet.
Could you imagine, next time you see that light in the sky, don't go to it. The bat is dead. Bury it and just throw him into the ocean or the harbor or whatever. He's not getting back to those guys. And you saved a lot of lives. Kind of, I guess. They probably would have killed some other people. It's whatever. But it's it's one of these deals where it's like DC doesn't really have a whole lot of thought behind their stories. They're very conflicting. And Sony is no different. You're going to make these movies where it's just like, okay, Morbius takes place in, I assume, the Sam Raimi universe, because they made them airbrush a picture of Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man on a wall in Morbius. Venom, it wasn't until after the end of Venom 2 where they decide to take Venom into the main MCU timeline, I believe, like the main MCU universe, and leave behind a small drop of himself somewhere. While we're still trying to figure out if Tom Holland's going to even be coming back as Spider-Man.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But it's just it's one of those deals where it's like Venom, you skipped an entire plot point. This is one thing I'll say about comic book movies right now is that drives me crazy. They're making villains superheroes. Established villains that had to really earn their anti-hero rankings. They're making them into superheroes. Deadpool is one of the very few I see that's actually a flat-out for himself kind of person, but he's also kind of heroic, but he is still also learning to not be just a killer. Right? Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson playing Shazam, refusing to have Black Adam, refusing to have Shazam, who is Black Adam's, rival.
Nemesis.
Yeah, arch nemesis and everything else. Black Adam was not until recent years an anti-villain. An anti-hero. He is now technically, but he was always just a bad guy. He just wanted to destroy Shazam. That's all. It was no different than Reverse Flash versus the Flash. We have who was it? Who was I thinking about? So you have Black Adam, and then now you have with Aquaman, you have his brother who is now supposed to be like, I think they're trying to copy Marvel by making like a Thor Loki kind of situation out of the two, which in the comics those two are deadly enemies of each other. But Aquaman 2 is like a buddy road trip movie from what I'm told. And what I've seen in the explanations. But you have
the
these
real
movies.
King makes bridges.
Jesus.
Crunch.
I don't see it. I don't get it. I don't get the appeal of like whatever Lip from Shameless was saying. I don't think that these movies are a last ditch effort for people to join up with. I think it's more so a fact that it is, if you are interested, it is a safe bet that if you're good at the character, bringing the character to life that you want to bring to life, that you're going to be there for a while. Tom Holland has now.
Paycheck.
Yeah. I mean, to my understanding, from my understanding, like Lip is struggling with work because he's a legitimate alcoholic that has been problematic on set. So he's having a hard time just maintaining work. He's got the bear right now. It's his bread and butter. Lip might want to shut the hell up. We could have already done like a, Gene Wilder biopic if you wanted to be. Like he looks just like him. But,
and
who am I to judge?
From The Judge as a very good example. Thank you for bringing that up. Just because you're in a superhero movie doesn't mean it's the pinnacle of your career. I mean, all you have to do is look at, I don't know, Academy Award winner Brie Larson. Robert Downey Jr., his career didn't end or stop because of Iron Man. He's done, that's the thing that, we keep talking about, not just tonight, but on many episodes. When you get one of these, high paying, regular kind of calendar jobs where, okay, I'm going to be working and earning this much for the next X amount of years because I signed a long-term contract with Marvel.
Yeah.
Once you have that in the bag, once you have your schedule, suddenly it's less about, surviving and figuring out, where the next check's coming from. It's about, okay, what do I want to do as an actor? What appeals to me and my abilities? So that's why, Robert Downey Jr. is able to make something like The Judge, because without that Marvel money,
very good movie.
Maybe he has to figure something that would pay him a little bit more.
Oh shit, Due Date, man. The movie Due Date with Zach Galifianakis. Like, I mean, it's like you watch Tony Stark punch a kid in the stomach.
Yeah.
Have a meltdown and everything else. And but it's Robert Downey Jr. Chris Evans has been in a few things while he was prepped to continue Captain America. He was in quite a few things. Scarlett Johansson, same thing. Yeah, no. It's like, see, the thing is, like, people think that because you're, yes, but people think that because these actors are characters in the comic book movie or franchise, that's all they're doing. They're doing plenty of other things. Now, these movies are very time consuming. The shooting schedules are hectic, especially the ensemble pieces. Like the last two of like Phase 4 with Avengers Infinity War and Endgame. Shit, that had to have been a very time consuming shoot. But at the same time, like these characters, like these actors, they have more. Sorry, they're doing more than what their people are thinking that they're doing.
And because of those roles, specifically, you mentioned Scarlett Johansson, he was able to team up with Kylo Ren, Adam Driver, and both of them wind up being nominated for Oscars in this little movie about divorce.
Yep. Actually, a very good movie, too.
Yeah, it hit. Okay, it hit hard for some of us.
I'm sure. See, I wouldn't know. I've never experienced divorce. Nope, never got divorced. I'm still happily unmarried. But the thing is still, it's one of those deals where, this whole projection that people have, and I look at that, like, when it comes from an actor like that, I look at that as being jealousy because he hasn't really gone on to do a whole lot. And it's nothing against him. He's an amazing actor. He's a great actor. He has such a limited leading man status in film and streaming or television. He's really not that popular. So for him to go back and be like, oh, well, like, this is what the deal is, so stupid. And for people to agree with that, it's like, you can agree with what you want, but it's still dumb. Um,
Nothing wrong with getting paid
yeah,
in Hollywood,
no,
even
but
if it means you got to wear spandex.
yeah, exactly. So, but oh shit. Let me 1 second here. Josh, you got this for a second. I got a call. I got a text saying, "Call me 911."
Yeah, I got you.
All right, let me go get this. Hang tight.
I'm
I'll be
gonna
back.
remove you from the video and just
Yep,
give me a signal when you get back.
sounds good. Bye.
All right, kids. As we were saying, it's not bad to be in a superhero movie. It's not bad to have superhero movies when it comes to, you know, talking about the art of filmmaking. Yes, there is a sort of a separate level when it comes to special effects, popcorn flicks, and stuff that is made. Lost Souls trilogy says howdy. Hey, how's it going? There is a difference between those kinds of movies. Case in point, let's look at Benedict Cumberbatch. He very very well known for Doctor Strange, but also known for being a terrific actor. Look at Power of the Dog, and comparing the two, one is special effects driven, you know, heavy, not really heavy story, but origin story plus multiverse story superhero movie. The other is a cinematic powerhouse of excellent cinematography and performance, great directing. The difference being one to me was highly enjoyable, the other one not so much. But I recognize the fact that Power of the Dog is uh, A plus as far as the way you make a movie. Some things you just can't deny. You cannot deny the craftsmanship of a thing, but you also can say that it's not for you. And Doctor Strange, while it may not be for a lot of people that would appreciate Power of the Dog, I would hope that when it comes to the different craftsmanship involved in making something like that, that it would also be appreciated, whether it's the effects or the bit of comedy that you put you know throughout the movie. Those special effects for Doctor Strange was they were completely mind blowing to me at the time. Excellent work on that front, but same star doing two completely different things, almost like actors range. Crazy thought. So, with that being said, one of the major, I think, lasting effects of superheroes and cinema is going to be the idea that over the last few years, last decade, maybe even, these are the tentpole films that have held up the higher end of theater earnings. They're the ones that people are going to the movies to see. There's always been the conversation, not always, but there's been a conversation going on for a long time about, is the theater experience dead? You see that question pop up every once in a while. And before we started getting the regular dose of superhero movies, you would see that article pop up on your social media feeds. You would see people asking these questions, and you would see the nihilists in the comments saying, yes, there is no reason to go to the movies anymore because nothing is good. Okay, maybe. But when we started getting this regular influx, give me a thumbs up when you're ready. Oh, you don't have your headphones on. When you start getting this regular influx of superhero movies and giving the casual movie goer a reason to show up on a regular basis, then yes, it's going to have not only an impact on the industry, but also a positive effect by making theaters stay able to open doors. Right. See, Sean says, I think the cat is out of the bag. Once people got the taste of watching movies at home, they won't want to go back to the theater. That's a good point, Brandon. I don't know if you can hear me, but no, wait. All right, Brandon's going to be out for the evening. Bye, Brandon. I'll make sure I say goodnight to everybody for you. Bye. So, you were saying that people don't want to go back to theater. Right. Brandon and I talk about it all the time. There are some movies that are worth going to the movies for. You go for the big theatrical experience. You go for the big screen, the popping CGI and special effects. You go for those big movies, which these days is mostly superhero flicks. There's great movies being released that don't live up to the theatrical, I think, release standard anymore. If it's your basic rom-com, things of the middle of the road mid-budget movie has found, I think, a nicer home on streaming where you don't have to get up, you don't have to go out, and there's really no reason to have the full surround sound big screen experience to do that. Let's see, there's a lot of people who believe Disney has ruined Indiana Jones, Star Wars, and the MCU. Okay, that's a big bite. Disney's basically been in charge of the MCU since not quite day one, but phase one. And Star Wars, that's a whole conversation unto itself, because then you're talking about OG Star Wars fans versus, prequel Star Wars fans. They exist, and now an even younger generation of new trilogy Star Wars fans. It's just putting fandoms of the same thing against each other. So that'd be a conversation that really needs to be broken down on a completely different episode. And Indiana Jones, has Disney ruined Indiana Jones? They've I really enjoyed Dial of Destiny. I think it's I'm going to say it's second best Indiana Jones movie. Why? Because third best, excuse me. Because in my opinion, it goes Last Crusade, Raiders, Dial of Destiny, Temple of Doom, and Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Why? Because of that order, in my opinion, being anytime Indiana Jones punches a Nazi, that's true Indiana Jones. Sean says, let's see, Adam Devine had an interview where he stated exactly what you're saying. Why pay the same amount to a romantic comedy as Endgame? Exactly. You can easily watch rom-com at home. It doesn't take away from the experience. A lot of movies are like that. Some people differ on what they think that that threshold is. For instance, I went to the movies to see the new Neil Breen movie. Why? Because it seemed not so much that it was going to be a cinematic masterpiece that needed to be seen on the big screen, but it was a social event where you gathered, with people that are into the same thing as you are, and you're not expected to just sit down and watch the movie. You're expected to kind of, take part in this group watch of the train wreck that's going to be taking place on screen. That is what that's about, because that again, completely different story. The idea of group watching a bad movie in the theater, and people go see the Room all the time when they show them, and it's not because it's a cinematic tour de force. Sean says, I'm always on Movie Addiction talking about how I want the return of the violent mid-budget drama like Easter Promises and No Country for Old Men. And there's a lot of them out there. The, the, the mid-budget stuff still exists, but it's on streaming. and it does exceptionally well on streaming. Unfortunately, it doesn't. I don't think it really gives it enough room to exceed expectations, because every once in a while you're going to see one of those mid budget movies blow up, and suddenly you have this huge new franchise on your hands that you weren't expecting. So I think that's the only downside to going straight to stream. You don't get a chance to be more than you can be, as it were. But yeah, those are the great points. You guys are killing the comments. Let's see if it just doesn't stand out. You don't hear about them or even know if they're coming out. Yeah, when that's another thing. When it seems most of the time, unless there's a major star attached, you really don't know. There's not a whole lot of marketing money behind going straight to streaming, unless there's somebody attached to it that people are going to take note of, or things of that nature. One of these days, Brandon and I should talk about some of these straight to streaming movies that have really killed it. Exceeded our expectations in some way, shape, or form. I can't really think of any off the top of my head. Whew. Let's see. Well, with all that being said, I wanted to talk about the Marvels with Brandon, but he had a bit of a thing that he had to take care of. So we will hold back on the Marvels conversation. I'm just going to go ahead and say that I enjoyed it. But of course, I also enjoyed Miss Marvel. And, Captain Marvel wasn't the greatest thing in the world, but I still thought it was. But the Marvels, I enjoyed very much so. It hit a lot of spots, tickled a lot of funny bones, and introduced some things that really shine a light on what the next chapters of the MCU are going to be, whether it's large scale or small scale. And yeah, we'll really break it down. I don't know. Next week, Brandon won't be here, and I'll have a guest host. Who knows who it might be? Because I don't. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and start wrapping up. If you want to follow everything we do here at the WADcast and Wadco Media, go to wadcomedia.com. All the links are there for you to peruse, whether it's the social medias, the YouTubes, and anything else. And from what I understand, I'm supposed to say smash that like button, kick that subscribe button, and, lick the screen every once in a while. I don't know how that works. But the point is, if you want to know where all of these links are, go to wadcomedia.com. Go to the Facebook page. That's where all of the information gets put out there. Don't bother trying to follow anybody on Twitter, because really, honestly, I've had it for years. Maybe tweeted twice. I don't know why we even bother mentioning that anymore, to be honest. If you want cool shirts, not like this, because for some reason I was like, I'm going to wear a Marvel shirt tonight instead of a Wadco Media shirt. Oh yeah, I spilled ice cream on it. But if you want merchandise, go to wadcomedia.com. All the links are there. And yeah, wadcomedia.com. That's where it's at. And I've been saying for weeks now, for months even, that the end message of the night, the final message of the night, is going to be different until a certain thing happens. And guess what? There we go. It happened. The strike's over. That means we get back to the regular message. The regular message that I give every week. The what Brandon calls the Danny Tanner speech that I give at the end of each and every episode. So, welcome back to Danny Tanner speech, because the strike is over. The writers are working. The actors are working. Everybody's getting back to it. So, why not get back to that wonderful message that I personally enjoy delivering every week, and hopefully all of you long-time listeners will enjoy hearing again. And that is the only thing standing between you and your dreams is you. If you want to create, if you want to be a creator, the first thing you got to do is start creating. If you want to be a writer, do it. You have the tools. If you got a phone, you got docs. If you got a computer, you got all sorts of different, word pads and whatnots. Start writing. If you got a pen and paper, start writing. Be a writer. Hone your craft. Improve. But it doesn't start until you get started. If you want to act, take your phone. Like I said, hit record. Start acting. If you wanted to be a director, grab your phone, hit record, start directing. Is it going to be the greatest thing in the world? Probably not. But you can't do anything until you start doing something. So, get out of your own way. Start doing the thing that you want to do. Be creative. And support creative people. Because that's exactly what we try to do here at the WADcast. Both of those things, sometimes at the same time, sometimes one at a time. You know how it goes. But this has been the WADcast episode number 151. I have been your host, Josh, and Brandon checked out a little bit ago. But he says, loves you, misses you, and we'll see you next time for episode number 152. Until then,